Hi, our team is integrated by Jamel, Rodrigo, Karen, and I. And we are going to talk about the importance of breakfast in academic performance. Okay, so the problem we identified and we chose to focus on our research is the implementation of techniques for higher cognitive performance. Specifically, we chose to focus on breakfast because according to experts, this is the most important meal in a day and mostly for school stage. And the question we try to answer with this project is how much having or not having breakfast before starting classes affect academic performance. And also in this project, the independent variables are those students who don't have breakfast before classes, and the dependent variable is their performance at school. This project is very important in order to prove if breakfast in fact have an implication on student performance at school with the purpose of increasing this performance and for students to have better grades and learnings. The hypothesis we established is that if people have breakfast before starting the classes, then those people are going to have higher academic performance. We research about food and the brain and try to find a relation between them. And we found out that the system that regulates the digestion in our body is directly related to the promotion of cognitive processes. Also, as every muscle in our body, the brain needs energy to function, and this energy is obtained from food. The brain consumes more than 20% of the total of our entire energy organism energy. Also, in order for the brain to function, it uses interneuronal communication, which needs fats that we obtain through food. And food is essential for us to combat cognitive decline, as well as develop memory, mental speed, and mood.
Methodology. Well, to carry out this experiment, we did a series of surveys to a group of people to gather information. But in order to respect the social distancing and to carry out the surveys despite the conditions of the pandemic, we used the Google Forms tool, which allowed us to do the surveys and collect the results via the internet. And well, we sent the survey to 61 randomly chosen high school students volunteers with the following questions. These questions help us to obtain valuable information about his academic performance, his school average, and his food intake in the morning. Also, these questions help us to obtain information about the semester they were studying.
For the section of results and discussion, we saw that we got a total of 61 answers, all from high school students, and less than half of them eat something for breakfast in the morning or something smaller before the classes begin. The students that do have breakfast are usually having it around 7 a.m. and 10 a.m. in the morning, and the ones that have it later would be around 12 a.m., which would be considered an early lunch, so that's not the best hour to have breakfast because it's pretty late. We also saw that almost half of the students rated their academic performance as good when they do have breakfast in the morning, and less than half rated as average or normal. Finally, we saw that 85% of the students that took the survey had a grade of 90 or above in the first partial of the semester, and they are actually, when we analyze the answers individually, are exactly the students that have their breakfast in the morning. We also did a chi-square statistic test with the variables being the grades and having breakfast or not, and the result we got was that they were in fact dependent on each other, and having breakfast does impact on a student's grade. The second one we did was with their academic performance and how they felt during their classes when they did have breakfast. And actually, here we got that they were independent variables, but at the end, in the long run, with their final grades, it is reflected how breakfast does impact positively on their academic performance. To support our hypothesis, we did some research and found out that between 1920s and 1950s, there was a similar experiment done on Chilean industries where they gave a balanced and filling breakfast to their workers to see if they would improve their production. And in fact, it did. It raised the industrial performance, and the workers felt more energized during their work.
After analyzing the results from the survey, we came to the conclusion that most students prefer to have breakfast before their classes, and most of them have this meal between the early hours of the day, between 12 and 7 a.m., as the latest time 12 a.m. This tells us that by the time the afternoon classes begin after 12 a.m., they have already eaten, therefore are properly energized. Well, in fact, 85% of the participants have a higher average than 90. Some students do have 1 to 2 classes right when they wake up and have not eaten anything yet. Their academic performance isn't severely affected because they will have breakfast right after. People who indeed had breakfast were the ones who got higher grades. Results showed that breakfast didn't have an immediate impact on daily performance, but on the overall average. Well, with these research questions, we can conclude that our hypothesis was correct regarding the research question. As improvement proposals, we suggest that it could be improved some aspects of the methodology we followed in order to get better results and answers to the research question. These aspects include register more spread and varied data from different ages, schools, and habits. Finally, we want to add the research can be useful to combat low academic performance in study and also could be helpful to prevent school drops.